Can you believe it? Spotify just got worse. Because now the platform is deciding to openly screw over users and musicians even more than they have in the past, as they have decided to restructure their royalties program. They want to pay basically nothing to artists who don't really get a whole lot of streams to begin with, which, I don't know, in terms of like the morality of the music business, if there even is such a thing, wouldn't it be the artists who are already making next to nothing who could use that money the most, as opposed to the artists who are already netting millions of streams per month? Doesn't this go against Spotify's previous PR line about, we've revolutionized the music industry and we're so great because now there's like a long tail of a variety of different artists and smaller artists who are like making more money now than they would have before if we were just like, you know, back in the CD days. So now you're starting to create this slow squeeze from the back and potentially bring us down a slippery slope where only the most beloved, mainstream, and sought after artists are the ones getting paid. Meanwhile, pretty much everybody else is getting fucked over and doing it for promo. So basically the same way the music industry used to work, but now just streaming. What details that we have of this so far is that Spotify is planning to demonetize tracks that had previously received 0.5% of Spotify's royalty pool. But like, what is the number threshold you have to hit to be above that 0.5 threshold of Spotify's total streams? Spotify gets countless streams every year. So how many streams would you have to be making a month to like crawl out of that below 0.5 trench? Especially since these decisions are all going to be made with like internal numbers at Spotify that you know they're not going to be transparent on. So there's most likely going to be an untold number of songs that Spotify is just going to be like, sorry, bro, you're not making enough streams, man. And I'm worried that if this policy somehow benefits Spotify, that other streaming platforms are going to follow suit. Stereogum surmises this may be a way for Spotify to basically like stick it to ambient and noise and experimental music producers even more than the platform already is, by way of like, you know, featuring badly labeled non-Muzak, non-existent artists and like, you know, ambient music playlists and that sort of thing. And I just don't really get the platform's, you know, issue with people that make this kind of stuff. I mean, if people are on Spotify and they're staying there to listen to that kind of music, does it really matter what sort of music it is? Does it even really matter what kind of sound it is or what sound is being generated? As long as people are sitting there and freaking listening to it, they're hearing an ad if they have a free account, or, you know, they're using their paid account to listen to, you know, recordings of birds chirping. Who cares? Which is why, again, it's so confusing that they're upset about, like, you know, ambient tracks and found sound tracks. They want to start doing certain benchmarks in terms of there being like a certain length of engagement with a song in order to pay these people that, you know, will upload stuff that isn't necessarily like music, traditionally speaking. But like, your entire business model is based off the mentality that like a click is a click. A stream is a stream. Like, if you guys actually gave a shit about music and art and songwriting, you wouldn't create a system that incentivizes people to tear songs apart and break them all down to the point where they're just like 1 minute and 30 fucking seconds. And it just becomes this dumb, hype, stupid fucking meme song that people maximize profit off of by streaming it over and over and over, because you're going to get more cash off of a 90-second song than a 3 minute and 30-second song that people are going to play less because it's longer. What do you give a shit that people are like pulling up to listen to bird sounds? It's just like an odd thing to be concerned about, but whatever. There's also talk of enacting financial penalties against distributors and labels when Spotify detects fraud on tracks. Whatever is considered fraud by Spotify's account is sort of ill-defined. There's also a lot of talk of like, you know, stream farming and that sort of thing in the music industry generally. And, you know, we know it exists. And there just hasn't been an expose at this point, you know, telling us like which artists or labels or whatever are benefiting from it the most. Maybe that's possibly what it's about, but I imagine Spotify has to benefit greatly from that exact very thing. at the end of the day to some degree. The labels most certainly do, and they're in bed with Spotify. So between them business-wise, I can't imagine there's like a huge business incentive to, you know, make sure stream farming stops dead in its tracks. I don't really foresee a future where they're like, you know, really giving Sony and like Warner a super hard time financially. Most likely any kind of monetary punishments are going to come down on musicians and labels that have a lot less power in the music industry. Lastly, if Spotify really truly gave a shit about fraud on the platform,
users
for years have been asking for two-factor authentication so that their accounts aren't hacked into or messed with in any sort of way. Spotify is still not offering even that. So yeah, this is just kind of like proof of Spotify being dicks even more. From here, why are we supposed to listen to any of this like long tail bullshit when your model is continuously squeezing smaller artists more and more? And what's even more tragic is that this is happening at a time when Bandcamp is starting to go to shit and is like a reversal of the direction that, you know, we've been hearing the optimists in the music industry say for years. Like, oh, well, you know, streaming just needs to get bigger, get more popular, become more the zeitgeist, and then, and only then, will there be like some better competition and the royalty rates will like rise. But like, no, that's not what I'm seeing. I think these companies and the labels that like have stakes in them collectively, they've got a little, you know, not quite a monopoly, but there's a little conglomerate going on there. It's a big, fat, gigantic share of the music industry and all of its major functions condensed into a very small group of companies that are making money hand over fist and are enjoying it every step of the way. And because it is benefiting them, they have no incentive whatsoever to make it better for users, for artists, for anybody other than themselves. So that is most likely why shit is gonna probably just continue staying the same outside of the handful of moments here and there where they'll just like eat around the edges just to fuck everybody else over just a little bit more. That's the direction we're headed in. This sucks. This is ass. Spotify, once again, getting worse, but can't say I'm surprised. That's what they do. Feel free to voice your disappointment down in the comments, and yeah, that's going to be that. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, forever.